Hi, Joy.
Hi, Susan.
So we're here today for you to talk to us about how you're flourishing. And I know right now a lot of people are just trying to survive, but there are a lot of people out there that are flourishing. So, so tell me what you're doing.
Well, I am one of those people that is not being finding staying home a horrible thing. In fact, I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think because, for two reasons. First of all, I have a lot of contact with people because of my work and because of my extended family.
You work a lot on Zoom.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I talk to people all over the world that way.
Right.
And then I have a big family.
Right.
So I have a lot of family interaction.
Right. And you Zoom with them too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And
as a matter of fact, what's been a pleasant surprise is that my children, I have 4 children, they are reaching out to me more now than they did before because I think the world has told them.
Are they worried about you because of the pandemic? Yeah.
Yes, yes, and they're recognizing that they should check in with me more than they did before.
Yes.
So
that's a benefit.
It's been a surprising benefit.
Right.
Surprising benefit.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you do, what your work is.
I do 2 things.
Yeah.
I have an independent practice in leadership development.
Right.
And so I work with people that are in what's called the C level, which is Chief Executive Officer or Chief Financial Officer.
Right.
And then I work at the next level, people at the next level of management, so like at the director, the vice presidents or the directors levels, to help them become better at what they do.
Right. Okay. You're a PhD psychologist, right?
Yes.
So that's your background
in organizational psychology. Yeah.
Right.
And I work with them as individuals and as teams.
Okay.
Now, I've been able to continue working with them as individuals during the pandemic, but not with the teams.
And you don't try to do this big group Zoom call? Or?
Not yet, but I think if this is going to continue much longer, I'm going to put in the time and energy to figure out how to do that effectively.
Right. Okay.
Haven't figured that out yet. And in addition to that, I also do trainings in how to, with other practitioners, how to help people to be more resilient in times of change and disruption.
Okay, that's a good thing to have right now. Yeah.
Well, I've been doing it for a long time, but a lot of practitioners want to know how to do that for their clients.
Yes.
So I have been doing that a lot this past.
Training people how to teach resilience.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and that's where I get interaction with people all over the world. As I've been doing that, I've talked to somebody on every continent except Antarctica.
Right. There are not a whole lot of people down there.
Right.
But although I hear it's beautiful. So.
It is.
Yes,
it is. Yes. But so, I feel very connected to the world.
Good.
And connected to the U.S. and connected to family, so I don't feel isolated, even though I never go out of my house.
Okay. And so can you talk a little bit about why you decided to keep working? Because you're past retirement age. So what...
I can't imagine not working.
Okay.
And I think I'd have to say, I believe that's a learned behavior from my family.
Okay.
Your
dad worked forever, didn't he?
My dad worked until a couple of months before he died. And even the last board of directors meeting was held at his house, and they had to wheel him in from his bedroom to come into the living room for the board of directors meetings. And then he died, not too long after that. So that's sort of
it's genetic.
Yeah, I think it's the model, the role model.
Okay.
And I think also, Susan, because I didn't get my PhD till much later in life.
That's right.
And, I still want to use that.
Right.
And so that's the second reason. And the third reason would be I still feel like I have things I can contribute. So
it gives you a sense of purpose, and that's certainly a way to flourish, is to feel like you have a purpose in life.
Yes. And another funny thing that you may remember from our years back when we were in graduate school together, I felt that getting my PhD would be the reason I could justify continuing to go to educational classes. that would keep me going, you know, if I
You could
wanted.
stay in school.
I could, yeah, which I've always
I know
enjoyed.
you've always enjoyed that.
So I could, every year I have to go to 20 hours of continuing education if I want to call myself a psychologist. So I thought,
You enjoy that
some reason I thought about that back then.
back then. Okay.
And so
Most people complain about that.
I enjoy it.
Okay.
I saw something recently that I think is going to be my new mantra, which is the more you know you don't know.
Right. That's good.
And so, you know, I'm experiencing that.
Right.
The more I experience life, the more I realize I have no clue.
Well, I think you have a little bit of a clue, but there's always something left to learn.
something surprising.
So talk a little bit about any challenges that you've, the kind of things that might have kind of stopped you or made it hard to flourish that you've overcome.
Well, I imagine probably the first big one was when my husband left because I was going to graduate school. I mean, it wasn't the only reason.
Right.
But I had to decide I was going to keep pursuing that.
Right, that you would continue school.
Yes.
You know.
And I
Even with 4 kids,
4 kids. And
high school and under.
when he left, they were all still in grade school.
In grade school, really, okay.
And so that was, took a lot of perseverance, a lot, actually some people would call it stubbornness, because I had quite a few people, like professors in my graduate program, are going, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And I can remember towards the end, I was pushing them to do what my committee to do so I could get my dissertation completed.
Right.
And they kept resisting. Well, my father was dying, and I wanted to complete this while he was still alive.
So that he would know that you'd done
So
that.
he would know.
Yeah.
And so I was literally driving to my professor's house saying, will you sign this? Running down the hallway at the university, getting another signature. So,
Did you do that?
yeah.
You did that before your dad died?
I did, just several months before he died, because they kept saying, put it off till the next semester. I went, no, it's got to be done now. So,
So your dad's had a bit of influence.
A lot
in
of
your life.
influence.
Yes, right.
definitely,
Yeah, I can
a
hear
lot of
that,
influence in my life. But a lot of people were telling me, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I felt that, it would feed my soul
Yeah. Okay.
for the rest of my life.
Okay.
You know, if I accomplish this, because of, as I said, I like to keep learning, and now I would be in a profession that would be the nature of what I would be doing. Yes, yes. But it was hard to do that. In fact, my kids laugh about 2 o'clock in the morning hearing the old clickety-clack printer going off.
Right.
Because that's when I would get my schoolwork done, is after everybody had gone to bed. And so they tell jokes about, oh, Mom.
Yeah.
But another thing that came from that was I could tell that my children were very pleased and proud when I completed when I got my doctorate.
Yes, I'm sure they were.
To have set a goal like that and to keep after it.
And I'm sure you're an influence in their life. That's part of your influence in their life, is they know you did that.
I think so, even though we don't talk about it.
Right.
You know, it's part of, like I was influenced by my dad.
Right.
You know, that they'll be influenced that way too.
Right.
So,
That's a good thing to keep you going.
yes.
Keep you flourishing.
It definitely has. It definitely has. Yeah, so in some way it was what it took to survive that divorce, because it got kind of bad. Because one of the issues was that my ex-husband tried to prove I was an unfit mother because I was still learning.
Oh.
That was what they said in the courtroom. she is still going to school.
Oh dear.
How can she be responsible? Oh, he wanted to have custody of the children, and he was proving I was unfit because I was still going to school.
Oh my gosh.
And how horrible this was.
And that didn't fly though.
That did not fly.
Okay, good.
No. But it was dealing with that.
Right.
And realizing I had to, it was a constant struggle. Do I fight this or do I, those were tough years.
Right.
Tough years. But I realized once I survived that, I could survive anything.
You can survive anything, right? Yeah, I think all of us have that kind of watershed moment where we realize that, okay, I got through this, so nothing can bother me anymore. So how do you take care of yourself physically?
Not well. Not well. This is my, when I was trying to, be a single mom for 4 kids and started to have a part-time job
right.
and go to graduate school,
yeah.
The thing I couldn't do, I just couldn't work out self-care.
Right, okay. Yeah. A lot of women do that.
It was fourth, and I just couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
So now I'm paying the consequences of that, and but I don't get too discouraged about that because that was a choice I made back then.
Right.
I mean, of the other 3 things, I didn't want to drop
any of those.
I mean, obviously wasn't going to drop my children. I needed to bring in money, and I didn't want to give up
your education.
My education. Right. So I gave up exercise and right. eating well and all that kind of stuff. So I'm paying the price for that now.
Okay. But would you do it any differently?
No.
Okay. That's what I hear from a lot of people that I've talked to about flourishing is like there's things that they didn't get around to, or there's things that they did that they're suffering consequences for or experiencing consequences now for, and they just say, this is my life, this is who I am, and I will continue to flourish just like I always have.
Yeah. So. Well, there's no question, when I look at my kids, I feel...
they are great.
Yeah.
They are.
They are all flourishing.
And how many grandchildren do you have?
I have 8 and 1 on the way,
right.
Yes. Okay. So I look at them and the lives they've created for themselves. Mm-hmm. I feel very good about the choices I made.
Right, great.
Because I definitely put them first.
Right.
And that not only affects them but their children. And so I had some sense, and maybe this is part of the flourishing. I had some sense even back then that I was like all of us. How we deal with our lives impacts a lot of people around us. Yes. Sometimes you're not even aware of it. Uh-huh. But I definitely felt that in direct relationship to my impact on my family.
Right.
Right. And the other interesting thing that's happening is that I've become the aunt that a lot of my nieces and nephews call.
Oh, great.
And to talk about things.
Stuff.
Yeah. And so that feels really good to me.
Yeah.
Now that they've gotten older, not when they were younger,
right.
But now that they're in their 30s.
Right.
They're calling, sometimes it's about personal and sometimes it's about their career, or, mm-hmm. And so that feels good to me too.
Okay. So you're flourishing and your family is flourishing, and that's what feels good to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm trying to catch up. Physically.
Oh. Okay.
And you're one of my role models about that. About needing to take better care of myself.
Right.
And I'm always pleased when I read those things that say, you can get going at any age. I don't care. You can be 80 years old and start exercising, and it will make a difference.
It will. And that's a conversation for another day. So I do appreciate you sharing that you're not doing so much physically, because I think a lot of people feel guilty about the fact that they aren't. And it's like, I know that maybe you want to put that in, that's something that's a goal for you, but you're not feeling bad about yourself because that's not part of your life right now. And I think that has a lot to do with flourishing, is being able to accept who we are and what we've done and what we can do and what we can't do, and keep going.
So here's something that may not fit into your model.
Okay, go ahead.
I was so successful and flourished so much physically when I was younger.
Yes, you did.
So
You almost got to the Olympics, right?
yes,
Yes.
yes. So it's sort of like I feel like, well, I've been there, done that.
Oh, okay.
Do you know?
Yeah, I do.
It's just like it's not as exciting to me to think about doing those kinds of things
Interesting.
because you know, I know what it feels
You know what it
like
feels like.
to really have your body do all the things you want it to do, and how great that feels.
It does. It still does.
But I can't quite, you know.
Yeah.
For some reason, it falls into that category. I've been there, done that for me. Now, it's totally different, but I'm aware of that is sort of in my thinking.
That's interesting.
I can't get excited about
Well, I'll
it.
probably come back and, revisit people. I know that you have had goals in the past of trying to get more exercise, so maybe you will, maybe you won't, but you're still going to flourish.
I'm going to flourish.
Yes, you are.
No matter what.
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty setting goals that are motivating me for physical fitness.
Right. So we'll see what happens with that, but certainly thanks for sharing all of your other great stuff, and also for being honest, because I think a lot of people feel that and
Feel about physical.
feel that they're not exercising and they should be.
Okay.
Okay, and instead of feeling like been there, done that, or maybe I'll get to it, maybe I won't. Instead of having kind of a kind of basic attitude that I'm a human being, I'll do what I can, they tend to make themselves wrong and criticize themselves and feel guilty because they're not doing it, and that's not helpful to anybody.
So can I say one more thing?
Sure. Yes, of course.
I would say part of flourishing is accepting that about whatever aspect of your life.
That's true. That's true. Because we can't all do everything.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, if you've chosen not to have a family, and when you reach my age, if you're still unhappy about that, you're not going to flourish.
Right.
There has to be a level of acceptance about that.
What you've done,
yes,
who you are.
in career-wise or whatever.
Right.
Whatever aspect of your life.
Right. You got to let it go. At some point, you got to let it go and just enjoy it and flourish.
Yeah.
So thank you so much
Okay.
for sharing your ideas with us.
Thank you.